Welcome to the Tiger Interview Series. In this episode, we have Evan Pratte, former Division I Power 5 coach and now head of our high school baseball operations for the Rawlings Tigers. In episode 85 of The Closing Pitch, we talked briefly on recruiting, but in this one, we wanted to get very specific with actionable items you can take in your recruiting process. The age ranges for this episode is 13U to 18U, and for those players who have a strong passion to want to play college baseball. Enjoy. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Tiger Interview Series. My name is David Birkby, and to my right, we have Spiker Helms, and to my left, we have the newest member of the Tiger coaching staff, Evan Pratte, who we just had on The Closing Pitch. How's it going, guys?
Going good.
I was amazed. I didn't know that you went to Lafayette. How many dudes came out of that school? And people that don't live in St. Louis, like, if you hear Lafayette, you have Ryan Howard, you have Luke Voigt, and you have David Freese.
And you have Evan Pratte.
Should be at the top of the list.
That's right.
Should be at the
That's
top
right.
of the list.
Yeah. I should put you first. My bad. My fault. My fault.
No, it was fun. Back in the day, we my senior year, we had 9 guys go to Division I to play baseball. So that back it was in 1987, my senior year. So we had a lot of guys back in the day, and previous to that, a lot of really good players. I certainly can't name them or tell you, but there was the baseball tradition with Coach Swift that started there was
and you
awesome.
have Aaron Jaworski as well.
And Aaron Jaworski, that's right.
That's the one you
That's
definitely
right.
shouldn't have left
Can't
off the
forget
list.
the boss.
Gosh,
That's right. Absolutely.
It's just amazing that just that little that's it's not little, but that school has produced so many baseball players. Do you think it's just because of the St. Louis area? Or?
I just think it's the region that it's in, the area, the baseball around the area with everything that's going on. It just everybody lives and dies and breathes baseball, and have had a lot of good players come through.
Because you always hear about like Las Vegas, like those Las Vegas schools, those different high schools, and then everyone like, where's Lafayette? Let's get some recognition here. It's pretty awesome. Mm-hmm. So, Dave, what are we talking about today, man?
We are going to go down the recruiting path. We kind of touched base on that a little bit in the despite your efforts. We were trying to go down that route, and you tried to stop us in the last podcast. But we are going to go down the route of recruiting, answer some myths, go down just some of the talk a little bit about the technology side of it too, and how that plays a role, and just kind of go down the scouting side of things and use the expertise that Evan has acquired over the past 26 years of coaching Division I baseball.
I'm excited about this podcast because, one, you did our recruiting and still do our recruiting, and then Evan bringing him on this summer is...
Huge upgrade, by the way.
And it's just going to be interesting because... You're an insider. You're college baseball, and then obviously we're on the club side, and now we're meshing the two together, and I think we're going to come up with a pretty good plan for people. I want to do a lot of strategy, tactics, practicality, a lot of that, and then I also want to challenge our thesis from May, which was when COVID hit, we had to really think about how is a college coach going to recruit in a Cervasis type of world.
Yeah, exactly. Very difficult.
And the only thing that I could come up with was Twitter. Out of all the social media platforms, Twitter was the one because that's where the whole baseball community is. Love it, hate it. Really love Bodie's tweets. Then Bauer gets into it. Mm-hmm. And then next thing you know, we're in a huge drama war. But from a college coaching perspective, it's a very tight-knit community, and you can see the conversations happening. So I was like, what happens if a player gets in one of their feeds? That could be a game changer. So I want to go down that route. But before we jump into it, I want to lay the foundation, which is recruiting and scouting. What's the differences? Is there differences? Because I do think that those words get interchanged a little bit too much. And parents get a little confused, players get confused. Like, oh, is that a scout? Is that a recruiter? He has a Bluetooth headset on. He has a stopwatch on. Like, is this guy the real deal, or is he just out there? So explain recruiting and scouting. Like, are they the same or are they different?
Like the professional side and stuff?
Yeah, just like just a general foundation.
Yeah, and for me, when I was going out, you're trying to gather information. If you didn't know about a kid or you went to one of those big tournaments, I was scouting. I wasn't exactly recruiting quite yet. I was scouting to find some players. I was talking to a lot of coaches beforehand. Who are your guys? I'd send a lot of emails, a lot of calls before the weekend would start and say, okay, on your roster, who are the guys I really need to follow? So I would have a game plan going in to those weekends. So I was just trying to, like I said, gather some info, more on the scouting, just what's out there types of stuff. And then when I got to there and watching those kids play, then it turned into recruiting because those are the kids that I wanted on our team or not on our team or whatever it was. So that part of it was good and or bad because you like them or hate them, one or the other. But it's kind of almost the same thing. It's really close. But to me, scouting is you're just out there looking and trying to figure it out. And then once you get into these are my 10 guys I want, then I'm going to really try to recruit those guys.
So would you say if this is a fair definition, is that scouting is all of the preliminary work leading up to before conversations have been had, and then recruiting is I'm actually talking to you?
Yeah, that's kind of what scouting is. You go to you want to buy a new house. Well, I'm going to go scout out these 2 or 3 houses and see if it works. Well, I like this one house. Ooh, I'm going to go try to buy that house. Now I'm going to recruit that house. So it kind of it's the same thing. So I kind of equated kind of that or whatever thing you want to equate it to or whatever it is. But yeah, it's kind of 2 different things, but it's also you're kind of gathering info.
Then from a college baseball program perspective, like the staff wise, is there a designated recruiter on the staff? And then also who's the decision maker at the final end of it? Yeah,
I think on most staffs, everybody recruits. So, and there's also on each staff a designated recruiting coordinator who does a lot of the legwork.
Scouting.
He does scouting, all the legwork, all the calls. And mostly it's the 2 assistants that do all that stuff. It's the head coach that handles all the other stuff.
Other stuff being
administration, team, the whole budget, everything else that
he talks to the brass.
He talks to the administration. He's the voice. Yeah. He's the guy that makes the final decision. So yes, when it gets all said and done, okay, then the assistants come up with this, or the head coach says, "Hey, I heard about these 2 or 3 guys. Let's go look at these guys." So the assistants will do a lot of the legwork of calling the kids or calling the coaches. The recruiting side of the scouting part of it, then they'll come up with a grand list and say, "Hey, coach, what about these guys?" And then the head coach will go, "I really heard about this guy. What do you think about this dude?" And we'll in the recruiting meetings and this, that, and the other you have within your staff, and then you come up with a game plan. We want these 10 to 15 guys. We need 6 on the year. So let's try to get 6 guys out of this group of 20. You kind of whittle it down to whatever, and then final decisions is the head coach has to make out the lineup. So he's the one most of the time saying, okay, I like this guy. A lot of times it might be the recruiting coordinator because the recruiting coordinator is on the road, or the other assistant, they're on the road watching the guys. Sometimes the head coach is not out there. You'll find different programs where the head coach is super involved in recruiting and he's always out at the tournaments. You see the guys all the time. And there's other programs where they're never there. It's always the assistants. You never see head coach guy. So it makes it a little bit more difficult for that head coach to say, I want these 10 guys, because that guy hasn't seen those 10 guys like the assistant has. So sometimes it's the assistants that make the final call. So it kind of depends on the staff and how you work and how they do it. But it's just more than an individual program decision on those final decisions on we want to offer this guy.
So a fair analogy would be the head coach is the CEO, basically.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Head coaches anymore are all CEOs because just a lot of stuff they have to deal with off the field, the media, the parents, the administration, the budget, the alumni meetings they have to go to, the luncheons they have to talk about, the fundraising. Mm-hmm. That's a huge part of that head man's job is to make sure the program rolls along.
So should someone be worried if the head coach doesn't recruit them?
Absolutely not. No, absolutely not. It's more of the assistant's job to be in those conversations, and then, okay, now I'm deep into 4, 5, 6 conversations with player A. Now let's involve the head coach. And the head coach will make the calls. The head coach will, hey, I heard you been talking to my assistant for a while, and I wanted to get involved and say hello. And so it's kind of a stair-step process. And sometimes the head coach is the guy right off the bat. Sometimes he's the guy that's calling the kids and doing the whole thing, and the assistants come in later. Sometimes it's vice versa. Like it depends on the program.
So kids and parents shouldn't worry that it's the assistant coach that's recruiting my kid. They should be pretty well aware that the head coach has his hand in those decisions, and we're going to scout you, and we're going to keep scouting you, and then we're going to finally make the decision to actually recruit you, and then possibly give you an offer.
Oh, absolutely. As long as you're talking to somebody from school A, B, or C that you're interested in, it's just as good as the head coach, assistant coach, volunteer coach, whatever it is. I mean, it doesn't matter. As long as you're getting interaction with that school, then if it comes to a point to where, okay, they really want me and they're going to offer me, then yeah, you'll get the full court press from everybody, from the head coach, assistants, everybody.
So we've established layer 1. Now I want to get to layer 2, which is the different levels of college, because a lot of people have different perspectives, false narratives. Could be true narratives, but most of the time it's false narratives. Talent-wise and the different levels, because you have been at the pinnacle, the top of the top. You've been in super regionals. You've seen major leaguers. What are the differences, in your opinion, from Division I, Division II, Division III, NAIA, and junior college from a talent perspective?
It's not so much the talent perspective, because you can have just as talented as kid at the NAIA level than you do at a Division I level. It's kind of rare, but you can probably have that guy at that same level, especially the junior college level. The main difference, and probably most of the only difference, is the scholarship money. And that's the difference in the levels of college baseball, obviously.
So you don't think it's really much of a talent thing?
There is a little bit of a talent gap, yes. But for the most part, it's going to be the scholarship part of it, because each level you go lower, there's less and less scholarship. And the guys that are talented and can play are going to be at the higher levels with more scholarship money.
Do you think it's a consistency thing?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just the guys who are D1, or obviously there's guys at D3 who can bang the ball out of the park and throw 93. We see them drafted every year. But can they do it over and over and over against that type of talent? So is that something you kind of look for?
That's part of it, yeah. And a lot of it obviously is getting that background from the coaches and whoever else you talk to about the background part of it. But I to me, the talent is there's a difference, yes, but I don't think there's a huge gap in it. I just think there's the inequity in the scholarships that the NAIs can offer, that the Division IIIs offer, 2s offer, whatever it is, the packages that they put together and make it work. And everybody makes it work at a different pace. It may not be athletic money, maybe academic money, and different schools, especially the Division I level, obviously, are different with their academic money. So that plays a big part into the success of your program and how much more scholarship money you can use with that academic part of it. So the talent part, yes, a little bit, but it's more of the how much talented guys can I get with my scholarship dollars in each school.
I've always felt that like the top Division II school could easily compete to like the bottom half of the Division one schools. But the only thing, if it was a 7-game series, the only thing that they would get slipped up on is the depth.
Exactly.
Is the pitching depth.
Exactly.
Positional wise, those players can play.
Absolutely. That's what I'm saying.
Like we talk about this all the time. Like Eric Webb, that dude could play Division I baseball
easily
right now.
Easily.
Without a doubt. Kenny Piper's another one, an AI player. He's now in the draft league, and that guy could literally just plop him into Division I, and he could outperform everybody else. Just skill-wise, positionally, he can hit, he can field. He's like a Buster Posey, does really, really well. Very talented player. But I think it deals with the depth side of things when it comes to the team side.
Absolutely, and that's where the scholarship dollars come in. So you have less scholarships, you have less players, you have less number one pitchers that you can really, really recruit. At the higher levels, you can get 4 or 5 of those guys and make a weekend work and be ready to roll. At some of the other levels, you can get 1 or 2 of those guys, and then you have to develop and or hopefully get somebody else on academic money or a walk-on that fills that 2 or 3 or 4 slot in your rotation to make it really, really work type of thing. So, yeah.
Now we're on level 3.
How many levels we have today?
Just wait.
Elevator's going up.
Elevator's going up. And then we're going to get into our thesis. But how many touches does it take for a college coach to say, "Yep, that's the guy. That's who we're gonna grab"? because I'm big on branding and promoting. A lot of people don't teach that to baseball players. They just think the old adage, if you're good enough, they'll find you, which is true, but it's nice to have a brand behind you if it's your name or Tigers or something. So my question for you is, how many touches does it take for a college coach to say, yeah, that's our guy? That could be social media, that could be email, that could be a showcase, that could be a camp. How many touches?
It depends on the player. And sometimes it would take 2 or 3 looks, 4 looks, and sometimes it takes one swing. Literally, takes one pitch, takes one. If I go to some place and watch and see a kid that's just, got the best swing going and knocking balls all over the place, then yeah, that's the guy. You'll say that right off the bat, and you'll say physically that dude can play right now at our place. He fits, awesome. And then obviously that's when you got to get into everything else, academically, socially. Does he fit all those other, check all those other boxes? But right off the bat, if I see a video or if I see a pitch or a bullpen, it doesn't take that long to say that guy is pretty darn good for the most part. And that's kind of the top 4% of people. Now, everybody else that falls in that 95%, you're going to have to go back and look a couple of times, because usually those kids do one thing or two things really good and kind of pique you and intrigue you and go, man, wonder what that guy looks like in a real game against the guy throwing 90 instead of the guy throwing 50 whatever at BP, and he knocks it all over the place. That swing is awesome. Really, really good. That swing's going to play. Okay, but here for the majority of them, again, what's it going to look like in a game? How does he hit a breaking ball? How does he hit a changeup? Does he pull off all the time on this pitch? Or those are the questions you've got to ask yourself. Is it going to really, really work? But tools wise, and right off the bat, you can see the guys that are going to be, oh, that's a dude.
Does it ever put you in question, like if he's playing like a guy that throws like 78 and he's just crushing everything?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's the same old thing. It's the same way. You're exactly right. It's the same reason why a lot of junior college players don't get drafted, because every scout goes, well, he's only facing 82. Let's see what he does at the next level facing 88. Yep. And it's in Division I, you're facing that all the time. So that's why more Division I players get drafted, because the scouts go, it's the same thing like I just said. If I go up and say, that's the guy's got the best swing ever, well, what's he going to do against 88? Well, you don't know yet. Let him get to 88 and go through junior college or wherever and then play Division I. And, okay, now we'll draft him after his junior year or senior year because he's proven that he has got a great swing against 88 instead of 82. So that's good. It's a double-edged sword with those guys. And again, there's exceptions to the rules. There's always a handful of guys that are really good, the Bryce Harpers and all that, whatever you want to call them, that are really good. That's a no-brainer. But for the majority of them, you've got to kind of really figure out if they're going to make it at that next level against that next level pitching, or vice versa.
I'm going to rephrase that question real quick. How many touches or how many contact points does it take for you to normally go out to actually watch that kid play?
Because that's the hardest part, right?
Yeah, if I see a video that I like, I'm going to hunt that kid down. I mean, really.
It could be one if you see something you like.
It's like when I'm on Twitter, or if I see, I follow a gazillion people that have uncommitted this or whatever that, or really posts all their stuff, and it's really what I've done the last couple of years more than anything is I see this guy from wherever going, oh man, I got to go watch that dude. I'm going to bookmark that tweet right there, and I'm going to go back to that and find out where this kid's at and what he's doing and what have you. That just kind of I still talk to a gazillion coaches, but that's another avenue for me as a college coach to go, man, that arm really works. I got to figure out if that's going to be good or bad, or if he's going to fit where I'm at, or academically, or whatever it is. But something right off the bat can intrigue you and set the wheels in motion pretty quick. It doesn't take that long for that to happen, for sure. So that's why the Twitter and the social media stuff for a college coach is kind of pretty important these days, because that's what they're kind of looking at. Because I'm on there all the time. I follow all kinds of hitting guys. I follow all kinds of infield guys, pitching guys, because I want to be still a learner in just the skills of the game. And all these other guys have great ideas and great info on how to do this or how to do that. And so I'm looking through all that stuff, and then all of a sudden this guy from wherever pops up, uncommitted this. I'm like, this guy's pretty good. Where's he from? What does he do? Oh, okay, I'll look at this guy and follow. That kind of how that thing works. So it's it doesn't take that long to figure out if this guy could be good or could be bad. Then you got to do some more work beyond that.
Our thesis back in May, tactical guide. If you haven't listened to it, go ahead and go back. It's on the Closing Pitch channel. It's the tactical guide on how to get a college scholarship, how to get recruited
During COVID.
And then we said at the very end that what we're talking about today is going to be set forth into the future. Well, now we are into the future, and we have a Power 5 former college coach across the table from us. And I really would like to get your thoughts on, you've mentioned it already, but social media and players, is it an advantage or disadvantage for them not to be present on social media?
It depends on the player. It depends on how much you're doing away from social media. If you're sending emails or you're communicating with coaches, that's fine and dandy. There's nothing wrong with that at all. It just kind of depends on how much you want to get out there. If you want to get interest from a bunch of places and have a bunch of options, and you're a good player and you're self-invested in that, yeah, jump on there and do that. There's nothing wrong with that at all, especially these days, because that's obviously how people, kids today communicate, and that's how we had to adapt for sure to be able to find some players. But that's a bonus. To be on the Twitter, to be on that, to be able to get out there. And like I said, every once in a while, you just have a rogue guy scrolling through there and go, whoa, how'd this guy pop up? Nobody's committed this guy yet? This guy looks pretty good.
I feel like it's probabilities, right? The probability of you getting recruited exponentially increases when you're able to increase your channels.
Oh, absolutely. The more you get out there, the more you advertise, the more business you're going to have. Simply. It's a real simple deal. And it's just a matter of personally, how much business do you want? Are you set with going to school A and you know school A is going to offer you and you're going to go there? Well, then you may not need to do all that stuff. But for the normal Joe and the normal player that maybe some of the college coaches don't know about, then you want to get yourself out there and get yourself known and get yourself in a couple of showcases and a couple of camps and all that stuff to be able to, express what you can do and let guys know that, hey, I am this type of player and I really want to go to your school.
It's just like a small business or a lemonade stand.
You are your own business. You literally are.
That's a good statement right there. You are your own business.
You really are. Yeah. And you're trying to get in front of the places you want to go to higher education and get a good education someplace and move yourself forward to be a better player, to be a better challenge yourself.
So if you don't have any business coming at your door, you probably should start advertising a little bit more.
Absolutely.
Make your product better.
They're not going to come after you if they don't know about you. Simply.
What would you say to a kid who's a little bit worried about that? Who's like maybe the introverted type of player who doesn't like that stuff? Who's like I hear players say this all the time. Well, I don't want to be a bragger. I don't want to be sitting out there like just patting myself on the back all the time. Like so they shy away from all of that. What do you say to them?
Well, that kid needs to be a little bit more outward going.
Well, I
don't know how else to say it.
How are you going to be known? I mean, if you're a business that doesn't talk, your doors are shut. You're closed.
I agree.
You're getting some PPP money.
the simple answer is, well, then, no offense, and maybe that isn't for you.
Yeah,
it might not be.
The kids have to look at it this way. You're not tooting your own horn. You're not boasting. You're not arrogant. You're not, everybody sends emails to coaches. Everybody sends the tweets or whatever it is, or the majority of people, should I say. That part of it to me is just literally, here's who I am. I'm not saying I'm the best player on the face of the earth. I'm not saying I'm the worst player on the face of the earth. But I want to go to college. I want to play college baseball. And this is the best way to do it, is to send the emails and call the coaches, go to their camps, get on the tweets every once in a while. You don't have to do 1,000 things on the Twitter. And I don't like a 50-page email of I did 9,000 different things. Give me a 4-second, 3 swings, 2 pitches, and I can tell right away or not right away that, you may or not be a good fit type of thing. But if I don't know any of that, I probably don't know who you are. Type of thing. Most coaches, because a lot of, especially the Power 5 guys, they're in and out. They're in and out. They got a list of 50 guys every day, and they're flushing that 50 list, and they're getting 50 more tomorrow.
Yep. They're the pretty blonde.
Yeah.
It literally. It's the
pretty blonde with the red dress.
What does it look like? Okay. Well, next guy.
I get this too because I've been asked by parents all the time. Well, am I bothering the college coach by sending him multiple emails or tagging him on Twitter. Am I bothering him? I go, I've never once heard a college coach ever come up to a dugout of mine and say, can you please tell player A to stop bothering me?
I've never seen a college coach on Twitter say, stop tweeting.
I've now blocked you. I've never heard that. So where's the value in just constant communication from a college coach's perspective from a player?
No, that's the more that you can bug the college coaches, the better. For me, in my instance, and I tell kids all the time, bug me as much as you want. Fire it up. Give me all the information you can. Give me your weekly transcript. Send it to me. I'd love to see that and pass it on to my academic guy. Send me your weekly 3 swings in your bullpen. I don't care, or your pitches or whatever it is. I want to know all that stuff because that gives me more background on who you are. And if you slack in that department and you get away from that department, then your interest in my place is probably not very high. Right. So that tells me, I probably didn't really want to come here. But the more and more, and it doesn't have to be overkill. Sure. It doesn't have to be crazy overkill. Because the thing with college coaches anymore and in the past is the more information that you get and the more stuff that you have, that kid can come to camp on your campus. And to me, that's the most important thing, as opposed to me going to a showcase and watching things. Because on a campus, on a particular place, I could actually coach you. I can be on the field with you. I can interact with you. I can mix it up with you. I can see if you're taking coaching well. I can see if you want to win in this little goofy competitive game we do. I want to see all of that intangible stuff. So every one of those kids, that list of 50, if I can get half of those kids on my campus and I figure out that 3 or 4 of those guys would work in my program, that's a win for me. That really is. Because not everybody can come at every campus, obviously. But all of those kids that contact me, I want to try to get them on campus to promote our brand on campus, promote our school, promote our program. Now, whether they come to our place or end up playing at our place is a different story. But at least they have all their questions answered about, some kids may come to campus and go, I hate this place. I don't like it. You guys are a bunch of knuckleheads. I don't want to play for you. Or they come to campus and go, this is the best place ever. I love your coaching and blah, 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 blah. And at the same time, that still may not be enough to make that kid fit into our roster. We may have, 6 catchers already, and he's a great catcher. Well, we don't have room for you. That happens all the time as well, too, as you know. So,
well, think about the branding standpoint, because if you already know who I am, and then I go to a camp, your eyes are going to be more fixed on me than anybody else in that camp. If you just go to the camp and you have no communication whatsoever, that's kind of a disadvantage.
You're kind of hoping for that right opportunity.
You're hoping for the right opportunity. My skill's just going to show it off. Man, there's a lot of players out there. I'd rather have that guy know who I am.
And at that camp, and if you really think about it, that head coach has probably never seen you. And you got that one shot at that camp to show the head coach who makes the final decisions on the lineup every day that I deserved and want to be in your program. And if you have a bad day, that head coach is going to go, yeah. Sorry, I have this bad impression of him. But if I have a bunch of videos and show him and tweets that I said and showed him that, hey, this swing looks pretty good, and he thinks that's why he wants to come to camp, because he just had a bad day. I need to go back and watch him again. So it's not you're not missing out on an opportunity if you've had that background with the tweets and the emails and the calls and stuff and bugging the coaches.
It's branding.
It's a familiarity thing. If I know that Bobby's pretty good and he's coming from 3 hours away just to come to our camp, I'm gonna make sure I do a really good evaluation on that kid, because he might be a part of our program.
And that's all you really ask for is attention.
Exactly.
Just get their attention. That's
exactly
all you want. And then people get mad when the college coach is not responding to my emails. Well, you don't know if he knows who you are.
Most of the time, coaches see those emails. They may not respond to them, but they see every email. They read every single one of them. And a lot of coaches respond, and some of them just put them into the camp file. That happens. But most of the time, you'll get an email back, hey, thanks for the stuff. Really look forward to seeing you. Maybe you can come to camp someday.
It doesn't mean they don't see them.
But they see all the emails. Don't get torqued up that they don't.
And then they get frustrated, he just wants me to go to a camp. Well, yeah, he wants to see you.
Exactly.
And if you're serious about that school, put your money where your mouth is. Come to campus. Let's see what you got.
You don't need to go to 20 camps. You need to go to 2 or 3 places that you really want to go to school, obviously, and just go to those camps. You don't have to go to 1,000 of them. That's ridiculous, because you're wasting your money. But go to 2 or 3 that you really think you have a realistic chance to play at. That's, to me, for a college coach, is the best thing ever, because you're on campus and we can show you around everything and basically recruit you.
My favorite marketing book of all time is from Seth Godin, and it's called Purple Cow. I'll give you a quick synopsis of the whole book. You don't have to read it. Literally, you drive down the highway, and if you're in Nebraska, Kansas, Missouri, Iowa, you know what I'm talking about. You see a whole bunch of cows, and you're just flying by them, and all of a sudden, you see this purple cow out of nowhere. Well, that's really odd. There's a purple cow amongst all these white cows. You're going to stop the car, and you're going to say, hey, that is a purple cow. Holy cow. I'm going to take a picture of that, and I'm going to send it to all my friends. That branding of being able to put yourself out, whether that is a testimonial from a third party like a Perfect Game or a PBR, going on Twitter, doing the email, getting their attention, and then being able to go on campus, you are a purple cow when you are in that camp and all amongst all the white cows. Because I know what your PBR rating is, I know what your Perfect Game rating is, I know what your metrics are, and I know what your swing looks like.
Yep. And I know how you communicate.
I know how you communicate. That's a win-win scenario for me.
Absolutely.
Now, you might not be able to play here. That's the catch. And I might not have a roster spot. That's another catch. So you have to figure out, do they have the roster spots available for you? And do you have the talent to actually play? That's the whole big thing of all of this. I think gets kind of confused on it is like, man, I got to pay for PBR. I got to pay for Perfect Game. I got to go play in the summer. I got to go to this college camp. That's
an investment.
It's an investment.
You're investing in your future.
And that's the thing.
So how young should you start that investment?
It varies. I would, if you're going to be interested in playing college, and I don't know how many kids really young know that they want to play college baseball.
Well, I mean,
but
if you watch a game on TV, you think about it.
If you're going to go, that's pretty cool. Literally 7th, 8th grade is the time to kind of think, because you have youth camps, you got all kinds of stuff you can go to, and you don't have to do a ton, but you just get a tickle, just get a feel, and just say, let me see what this is all about. And maybe, because I've seen guys when I was over at Mizzou, then they would come to our youth camps in 7th and 8th grade and go, that guy might be really good in 3 or 4 or 5 years. Yeah. Let me remember this kid and go back and try to find him. And recruiting's a little bit, not as early back then, but so you can kind of dream on guys when they're in 8th grade type of thing. And we actually committed an 8th grader way back in the day doing that because he was like, that guy's really, really good.
Well, I even, because I see it all the time on social media, like people bash you if you're like a 20, 25, or 26 right now.
They get so mad.
Grader. They're bashing like no one recruits that. No one, and I'm like, okay, well, hold on a second. Maybe that kid isn't recruitable right now, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But isn't he building skills right now? Isn't he understanding a way of how to promote himself? Isn't he understanding how to communicate with an adult or format or email or doing those things that are going to pay off for when he is recruitable? Now he understands how to do that.
Yeah, he's just laying a foundation for the coaches.
Yeah, and that's what we talk about. So, we talked about this on a podcast a couple of weeks ago. You might not be recruitable right now, but you're starting the recruiting process. It's a different thing.
Here's a really good question. People are probably afraid, like, well, I'm not good enough yet to put myself out there. True, possibly. But wouldn't you want to see where that progression has gone? Doesn't that make it a little bit more sexier?
Absolutely. If I see a kid that's a 7th or 8th grader and he looks the part, he may not be strong enough, maybe fast, he may be clumsy, he may have feet that are twice the size of his legs. He's just growing. He's like a big Dalmatian puppy.
Baby giraffe.
Exactly. You see that all the time. And I've got a son that's in 9th grade, and I've seen that with him. He's sprouted up the last, 6 months. He's growing a bunch. And he's like, you just don't know how that's going to happen or how that guy's going to grow or develop. But you can see that he knows what he's doing on the field. He knows where to be. He knows how to do it. He knows how to swing the bat. And maybe he's strong enough yet, but the tools and the skill part of it's really good. And you're going, okay, maybe in a handful of years when he grows up a little bit, he might be turned into a player. So I got that in the back of my mind for those 7th, 8th, 9th graders or whatever it is. Now I go back and, of course, you keep your list and you keep your stuff and you earmark or highlight whoever and go back in a couple of years and, you kind of follow the process along. You follow him on Twitter because obviously most kids are on Twitter. And you go, sophomore year, he hit 2 home runs. Oh, okay. Ooh, end of the summer, boy, he's hit 10 home runs now. Wonder what happened. He must have gotten in the weight room. Let me go out and watch him. He may be a player. You just... or he may not. You just don't know. Sure. But that's how it works.
Documenting.
Now you have a foundation and a library of Johnny who's started at 7th grade in your camp and go, that dude's he's all conference. Holy smokes, good for him.
I mean,
let me see what he's doing. Let me call his coach.
At the very worst, is telling you he's got a work ethic. At
exactly.
the very worst.
Oh yeah,
he's telling you that.
How do you do it with Paul? Like, how, like, does he want to play college baseball or?
He does. He hasn't quite got into it quite yet. I mean, this summer is going to really help him with that. And he,
but you're not pressuring him one bit. You're just
I'm being a dad, and I'm letting him do whatever he wants to do at this point. And he knows the process. He knows because he's listened to me talk to plenty of. I literally this past summer, literally.
Oh, Dad's on the phone again.
Exactly. I know. I'll see you in about 20 minutes. All right, we'll play catch in a minute. Hold on. I literally let him listen on the truck on the speaker to kids, and I said, "Listen to this kid talk." And I'll never forget. I said, "There's the one kid that recruited was really, really good. I wanted him crazy, but he ended up going to another school." And how like mature he was in telling me no. Like it was the best no I've ever heard in my entire life.
Well, do you remember the no? Like how he said it?
Yeah, no, it was just very cordial and hey man, I really liked your place and awesome stuff and just was really, really like he did it the right way. And I said, okay, so now listen to this guy. So I'm gonna call this other guy again, and then I got another no, but it was more direct. It was more like, see you later, bye. I said, okay, so you remember when we listened to the other guy talk? I said, this is how you're supposed to do it. Not like, thanks, coach, bye. See you later. It's like it was like the worst no ever type of thing. It was really two extremes, and I'll never forget trying to teach him about how to really just deal with people. And I said, this is the guy who did it the right way. I said, I'm going to follow this kid forever because this guy's going to be successful in life. This guy didn't want any part of it. He didn't want any part of telling me no. It was like, he was almost mean.
Didn't want to have a tough conversation.
He wanted to have a tough conversation. And this other guy was
or
like.
Or just yank you along. Doing one of those yank jobs.
Exactly. So I'm trying to teach him the right way to do stuff. And he's not on Twitter yet, but he'll eventually end up doing that stuff and get himself out there. But he's just now starting to get into that part. But I'm really trying to literally let him listen to the right way to do things and the right way to interact with people. Yeah.
And because his path is going to be completely different than what your path was.
Oh, absolutely. And every kid's different. Every kid's a different path. Every kid's a different speed. And that's the other thing, too, is when you get into talking to mommies and daddies and stuff, well, Jimmy's committed to wherever.
That's where I was going with this.
Jimmy's committed to wherever. Why can't, he do it over here? He throws harder than him.
I had this
he does better. This guy's better than him. I said, that's fine. But one of my things is you cannot compare yourself to Johnny or Billy. They're totally two different people. Totally different. Everybody's totally different in the speed and the way they. Because obviously, Coach A likes Bobby. Coach A hasn't seen Jimmy. Well, he might like Jimmy. It's a different path. It's a different coach, a different game. He may not have seen. He may see him, but he doesn't like him. They may not be a good fit. Well, why is this guy going to this place so early? Well, they want him.
I had this the other day where a parent was like, there's already a kid committed in his class. And I was like, yeah? Aren't you worried? I'm like, no. I mean, that was their first choice for that recruiting class.
Literally some of the best kids that we got at Mizzou, we got them in the 1st of August, right before school started. Some of the best kids we've ever had.
Aaron was like
that's
that.
The RBI holder. The RBI record holder.
For some reason or another, something happened somewhere else, or they weren't going somewhere else, they weren't uncommitted, or somebody didn't know about them, or what have you. There's 2 or 3 kids that were like late as all get out, and they turned out to be the best kids we've ever had.
As much as there's great communication channels, do you still think that there's players that fall through the cracks?
All the time. It's just a matter of the coaches finding those players.
Please listen to this, guys, right now. Listen to this right now.
Because there's a lot of places in today's college baseball world, there's a lot of places that oversign. There's a lot of places that do that, and then it'll get to the 1st of August or the end of July, and the scholarship dollars don't match up to the number of kids that are coming in, and those schools have to go, Johnny, Billy, Joe, we don't have any money for you. And then they're off, like, what do we do? And then the alarm bells and the sirens go off, and again, there's always a place for somebody to play. And those type of kids will find homes really fast if, again, they're connected with other schools and they've sent the emails and the Twitters and the background.
And they've handled it the right way.
Exactly. And they're good about it. And they can pick up the phone and call School B and go, hey, listen, I'm no longer going to School A. Is there an opportunity with you guys? And there may or may not be, but that school's going to go, heck yeah, we'll find a way to get you in. So there's always a place for that to happen. There's always different routes. There's kids from wherever, small schools, big schools, whatever, that, like you said, get lost in the cracks. And somebody may see them in a Legion tournament or some obscure tournament at the end of July, and it just because they're watching their cousin play, and they go to this other place and go, man, this guy is really, really good. How do I get him into school real quick? And all of a sudden the wheels are in motion real fast. It doesn't matter. It's either you get somewhere else doesn't work out, or you're hidden, or whatever. There's always last minute this, that, or the other.
Here's a really strong point: is that my roommate Brock, I mentioned him in the last podcast, the whole lump story. He was an All-American in junior college. No one picked him up. No D1s. Coach Gutton picked him up in a college summer game in Springfield, Missouri, and it's like one of those college summer games. It's more like a men's league.
Oh yeah,
The only reason he was there was because I think it was Lindsay's boyfriend was playing, and he was there watching the game just to like family stuff. And then Brock like hit 2 home runs, and he calls me up and he's like, "Hey, I'm at this game right now. Do you know who this Brock kid is?" I was like, yeah, he was our 3-hole and hit 15 home runs, and he was an All-American. He's like, why didn't anyone tell me who this kid was? And so then he offered him a scholarship, and then he ended up coming on campus.
You just never know. You never know how it's going to happen. It happens like that all the time. All the time. And if coaches are doing their jobs and doing what they really love to do, they're going to run into kids just by simple osmosis here, and just because they're going to find that gym. It's not going to be a lot of them, but you're going to find a number of those and go, and that's what makes for a great story. Just like you said, that's the stuff you know.
So this example, you're sitting in a room with a younger high school athlete and their parents, and they're basically, their anxiety levels are so high because they're on Twitter and they're seeing every one of his friends are starting to commit really early, and they think he's really good, and he is a good player. How do you talk them off the ledge? How do you talk them about, hey, listen, because everybody always says, well, I think we're late to the party. Do we have enough time?
Well, the stands are the worst. Yeah, that's where it gets really built up.
It gets perpetuated, right? It gets talked about all the time, but they always think that there's just no opportunity left ever, even though we just had the conversation of some of the best guys you ever signed was literally a month before campus started. What do you talk to them about?
Just the kids have to do their homework. The kids have to be able to understand and know that school A, B, and C that they want to go to, what does their roster look like? What do they have like 4 juniors coming back, 4 sophomores coming back pitching wise, and I'm a pitcher, and they're late to the party to go to that school. Well, it may not be a good fit for you because they're not calling you because they already have the rotation set. That's why. Okay, now we need to adjust to school B, maybe. What's your second choice? What's your third choice? What's your fourth choice? So, again, there's always a place to play. It may not be the ideal place that you want to go to. And a lot of times it doesn't happen. Like the ideal place, I want to go to this shiny place. Well, it's probably not going to happen for you. Let's be realistic about it. And yeah, it may happen for you because you're really, really good, or really, really, it's a great fit for you. But you have to be more realists than anything about the process. And exactly. It's like dating. Literally is. If the coaches don't call you, they probably are, no, we're not going to go out on a date. It's not going to happen. We're not going to ask you to come to our wedding. Not going to happen. It don't work. Oh, well, okay. I got to find this other partner over here. Let's go find somebody else to go to the shindig with. It just doesn't. It's a give and take, and parents and kids have to be able to have an ebb and flow with it, and it just may not work. It just may not be the right fit. Okay, what do we have to do? Well, you like this or like that or whatever? And, no, I really want this. I said, well, probably not going to happen. You can hold out for it, but that's fine. But
this is the hardest thing to tell parents and players, and because when you're early on in the process, you have big hopes and aspirations. You see all the teams in Omaha, and that's who I'm going to play for, and that's where Billy's going to go. And then when they don't call, it's like the world is crushed. Well, there's no college baseball opportunity left. Period. Bottom line. See you later. We're done with this. But then all of a sudden, 2 years down the road, they sign at Maryville University, and well, their parents are like, this is the best thing ever. We are rocking the Maryville gear, and this is the best opportunity ever. We're so happy. The kid puts on the jersey, and it's my favorite Pat Evers comment, not that he's the coach there, but he's like, every kid, the minute they put on that jersey for the first time, is going to absolutely love their situation for that moment.
Oh, absolutely.
They're going to be so proud that they are wearing whatever it says on your jersey. It doesn't matter if it's Maryville, LSU, Cal State Fullerton. It does not matter. They're going to be proud that they are repping those colors and that name. So it's like trying to get them towards that point. That is, stick to the process doesn't really work anymore. That's kind of boring.
Yeah, that's a big sense of accomplishment for those kids,
Yeah.
wherever it ends up in. And like I said, bottom line, you got to enjoy your college experience.
Yep.
And it's, when they get to that point, they put that jersey on and they have that pride. It doesn't matter if it, like you said, if it's Maryville or LSU or whoever, wherever. It's just you've done your homework, and it may not work out perfectly like you want. It may not be the best fit, but you're going to be at a place where you're going to enjoy you're going to have a great education, and you're going to enjoy your college experience. Those are the two bottom lines.
I think that's the last thing that a lot of guys think about is what's the experience. It's like priority list. It's like at the very bottom. I feel like experience has to be like one of the top things. Like my thing was I wanted to be with a good head coach. I wanted to develop, and I wanted to be around a guy that was pushing me. That was my experience. That's what I wanted. I couldn't verbalize it at the time. Now I can, but that was my experience. I guess if for a player, it's do I want to go to a school that is going to challenge me academically? Am I going to go to a team that has a really good community? I think those are top things that players need to consider.
Absolutely. And those are lost because they see the records. Do I get to play on TV all the time? Yeah. Well, kind of, yeah, because everybody webcasts all the time. So yeah, you can be on anymore. It's just ESPN or webcasts or whatever. I mean, so everybody's. Yeah, my mom and dad can see me play all the time, and all that. So that part of it, plays into part of it. But just enjoy college. Just enjoy where you end up, and have fun.
It's definitely the thing that's lost in the conversation. They're always talking about the locker room, the gear, the stadium, the this, the that, and not so much. So like, you're going to spend more time on campus than you are on the field most of the times. I mean, so like, what's the campus look like? What's the culture there? What's the town look like?
Well, even your teammates. You're going to be hanging out with your teammates
the
whole time.
Everything. It's like. How does just think about those types of answers before you go into it.
When they get to that point too, and they get deep into it, and they really want to go to school A, B, or C, and if you haven't visited there, then you need to visit, obviously. But when you do visit, or you call, or if you can't visit, if it's 9 million miles away and you can, and logistically just doesn't happen, try to get in touch with some of the players. Have the coach give you the phone number of, give me your best player or your best teammate, or get the answers from the players themselves, because the coaches can tell you this is the best place ever. But let me get it from the player's perspective. And a lot of high school players don't really think about that. Really dive into what the players are at that point right now. Tell me what it's like. What's the experience like at the school there? How are the coaches? How's the travel? How's the academics? What's the campus like? What's the, where are their best restaurants, or, what's the atmosphere like, or how are the football games, or, that's all the questions that you can ask the players. And the players obviously will be honest as all get out with you, and you'll get a good feel for the place more from the players than anything. The programs that I've been in, and anytime we have a visit, we sell the players. They make the place. So we try to, as much as we possibly can, have those incoming prospective student athletes spend as much time with the players as possible, because that'll give them a real good feel for, I can fit in with these guys. We go out to dinner or whatever it is, and, this guy's a jerk. Well, I don't want to play here. If this guy's a great dude, man, I want to hang out with this guy.
Yep.
That gives you a lot of answers.
Early commitments. You were a part of that in the very beginning, right? Early commitments started happening.
Yep. Oh yeah.
I want to give some people a little bit more at ease when they do see little Jimmy or little Tom get recruited early. Give a perspective from what's on the other side. When you do commit that early commitment, what does that mean to you? And then, how does that relationship build off of that? Because you hear stories of guys that get early committed and then they get axed, or they get early committed and then they end up going on to getting onto campus, and then they might not play. And sometimes it's a successful story. But go ahead and give us a little bit more perspective so that people kind of have a little bit more an idea of what's going on the other side.
Yeah, it's more of a kind of like an arms race for the top end schools, especially with the early kids, the 8th graders for sure. They're not considered recruitable athletes quite yet, so they can call them and talk to them all the time, just like a normal kid. Once they get to 9th grade, they can't call them. The kid has to call them. So they can kind of get after the top percentage of those kids that they think that are the better kids in the country that would end up going to college or even be drafted, type of thing. So a lot of the bigger schools are basically throwing darts at those guys, trying to get them to be committed early so they don't have to fight anybody else later on, literally. So they'll try to get a handful of those guys early and get them in the boat, get them under the umbrella, committed, the social media. Everybody knows that I'm going to school A, blah, 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 blah. Which is great, which is fine. But like you said, there's half of them that won't make it. Half of them will not make it academically. Half of them will make it. Half of them will be perfect and be good. But as a college recruiter and a college coach, I don't know if that guy is going to, one, grow anymore. Is he going to get stronger? Yeah, probably. How much? I have no idea. I mean, the dude may be 5'11" right now and sprout up to 6'8". He may be 5'11" and go to 5... What? It might shrink. I don't know. You have no idea. But they're trying to get a bulk of those kids under that umbrella and try to make it work. So the other group of majority of the kids that are in that boat of probably not that committed 8th grader guy, which is most of the kids, look at it and go, oh, man, why is that not me? Well, you're in the majority of the kids of that's not you. Type of thing. And the majority of the kids are going to go through the regular process and find their own home, and then eventually they may end up at the same place that Johnny's going because the trickle-down effect happens. And some of the Power 5 guys have no reservations about, starting with 20 of those 8th graders and ending up with 7 just because of natural attrition. And some of them they tell them to take a hike. And some of them it just happens because one, he may get hurt or he may flunk out or the grades don't happen for, like if a guy's going to a very high academic school and he makes a 2.9, well, he can't get into school. Well, sorry, you can't get into school. You can't come here. Well, that's another one that's out. So then it just kind of works itself down the path of you end up with your whatever number that you need on campus. So seeing those kids come in at 8th grade, that's fine. Nothing wrong with that. It's great. That's what you want to do. But I would really, really tell those 8th graders, whoever they are, to make sure that they really do their homework and that they look at school A that's really cool. And now all of a sudden, 2 years later, you look at school B going, that's way more fun than school A. And that happens too. And they may call up the school and say, hey, sorry, but I'm going to go to school B now instead of being committed to you. That happens all the time. Obviously, with football and basketball, it's a daily. It's a daily thing. It doesn't have too much in baseball, but because most of the coaches are pretty good with, not trying to quote unquote steal dudes. But so there's plenty of ways the attrition happens. But if you're only, if you're not one of those 8th graders who don't committed, there's nothing wrong with not being committed at all by any means, because it all, at the very bottom line, the very end of the whole process, and if you're the craziest parent, the craziest kid, or stressful this, it's all going to work out in the end somehow. It just always trickles to the top, and you go, okay, this is my spot I need to be. And everybody's journey is different and way different type of thing, and you just have to take it daily and do your homework and find the best place for you.
So is it safe to say that your recruiting process, no matter who you are, 100% of the athletic population, your recruiting process does not end until you sign those papers?
It doesn't end until you step on campus. There you go. I mean, you can sign the papers all you want, but there's still maybe 50 guys sign the paper, and the school can only take 20. So what are you going to do? Well, these 30 you can't make it. So these papers don't mean nothing. I mean, it's just how it is. So you can sign the papers all you want.
Now, is that something before campus, or is that after the first semester? Because can't you hold more people on your roster in the fall season? Okay.
You can, but you still have to be at 11-7.
Yeah.
You can't be over.
Yeah, that's true.
You got to be at 11-7.
So your journey doesn't end until you step on that field for spring, basically.
Right. Yeah. So you can still be a few extra guys in the fall, and once game one hits, you got to be at whatever the number is. Whether it's, I think this year's 40, it's been 35 in the past. Last year was kind of unlimited with the seniors, but usually it's 35. So once that first game hits, you're you're that extra 5 or 6 guy, 5th or 6th guy on the 41, 42, 43. If you're at that place, you may get what's called gray shirted, where you still can go to school there, but you're not on the roster. You can't work out with the team. You can work out on your own. You can go in the facilities all you want. You're just not involved with any of the day-to-day stuff. And being the gray shirt guy is like being a ghost. So
what's the difference between a gray shirt and a red shirt?
Where the red shirt is you're part of the 35. Let's say the number's 35. And you can be a part of that 35 being a red shirt player. Let's say you don't have to determine let's say you're a freshman. You don't have to determine that you're red shirting until literally the last game of the year. So if you pitch one pitch or have one pitch as a hitter, that's your year of eligibility. So I can go through the whole year and say I'm a red shirt and and then the coach says, hey, I'm going to knock on the door and say, hey, do you want to? I can give you 15 at bats at the end of the year because we really need your bat in the lineup. But it'll burn your year, red shirt year, your year of eligibility. So instead of having a red shirt, you play, and then now you got your 3 years left. Or you do your red shirt, and then you got 4 years left to play. With a gray shirt, you don't lose that year of eligibility. You're just not involved with anything the team does. You can't travel. You can't do nothing.
Can't practice.
You can't practice with the team. You can do stuff on your own, but you're basically literally like a ghost.
Can you use the facilities?
You can use the facilities. You're non-existent. Basically.
So coaches can't contact you.
Can't coach you. Can't do nothing with you. So if you're really wanting to play, then you're most of the time are going to go somewhere else.
It's kind of depressing.
It is. But that's how it's kind of works.
Oh, crap. John's coming. Get out of the way. Move.
Yeah, I mean, you can't, literally by rule, you can't do anything with that kid.
And then my assumption that leads to, because I was going to say, I don't think your recruiting process ever ends with what's happening now in the transfer portal.
Oh, that's the other thing, too. Absolutely. Now the transfer portals open wide up, and they, within your 4 years of college, if you go to school, whatever, for 3 years and you want to go to somewhere else and play, you can do that penalty free right now. So that adds to, how's my roster going to look next year? Because all the college coaches right now are looking at the portal, which has gone wacko with a gazillion dudes.
2,400.
I wouldn't doubt it. I haven't looked at it. What the numbers?
It's a free agent.
It's a free agent. It really is.
How does that mess up your academics though? Because academics aren't going to be friendly to that.
No, not at all. So it depends on what your major is and what you're transferring into, and this, that, and the other.
Wants their money.
Exactly. So that part of it plays a big, huge role. And if I'm going to get in, if I'm in my 3rd year and I get in the portal, there's another 2 years I got to go back to the next school probably because half of these, 3/4 of these don't transfer or whatever. These, I mean, it's a circus, literally. But at the same time, I'm a really good pitcher. I'm the best pitcher at mid-major wherever for the last 2 years. I'm all conference. I'm all everything. Well, if I'm a Power 5 and I see that, I'm going, you're pretty good. Maybe you want to come over here? And that's just how it works. And so then transfer guy comes in, and so that's going to take away another spot for the high school guy coming in, and the trickle-down effects worse and worse and worse as far as your numbers, so it makes it a little bit more difficult to be able to shoehorn your whatever into your school.
I had a question that just came to mind because I kind of joked with some of the – we were out at the game yesterday, and D1s are still on the dead period, but we had a number of Division II coaches out there, and I kind of joked. I go, why are you even here? Like, why aren't you just on your computer on the transfer portal looking at guys because they can go get a seasoned guy who's been in college? Do you think that that's going to – obviously, you're always going to have the early commits, the 8th grade, 7th grade guys from the Power 5 dudes. Do you think that's going to eliminate some of that freshman, sophomore commits that they would have? Like, it might get older in the high school process because they can just rely more on the transfer portal?
No, because those same guys are going to get those same number of kids, and it's just going to be a little bit more trickle-down. Okay. I think they're still going to go after those kids because if they don't, if Power 5 guy doesn't, some other Power 5 guy is going to snatch up kid that's really good, that's quote-unquote really good. And then this other Power 5 guys go, dang, why didn't I get this guy? Because he's really good. And this other guy got him. Well, it's an arms race.
Yeah, true.
I'm going to try to corral as many good players as possible without going just super crazy with numbers, and hopefully those kids get to campus. Because if they do, then let's say I get 20 of those 8th graders. Well, 10 of them are going to be really good, and I just hope I get the right 10 in the long run because the other 10 aren't going to be really good type of thing. And then, okay, now if these 10 are really good, I can sprinkle in a couple of transfers, and I can get a couple of more high school guys that pop up late. And now all of a sudden I got a 13, 14, or 15 really good players. And that's my recruiting class. And that's how it is. And again, the urgency to win at that Power 5 level breeds that happening because they have to get the quote-unquote best guys. They may not be the best fit for the program, but they're going to be the best talented guys for sure because they literally have 10 to 15 people in the stands every game, and they got to win. And they get paid gazillions to win. And they're going to get the best players to try to win. So that's how that's going to work. That's the top 4 or 5%. It's not the majority of the kids that are going to be going through the process. So it's part of it, but it's not the whole shooting match.
Would you call the fall a tryout?
Yes, for a lot of the bigger schools, for sure.
So basically, you just earned a tryout.
Kind
Safe
of,
to say.
yeah. Basically, yeah. And a lot of schools, don't have those large numbers, and that goes back to when you're in high school doing your homework and looking at the rosters of. I want to go to school A. Well, let me look at the rosters in the last 5 years. How many guys do they have? Because all the rosters are on all the internet sites. What's the 2021? What's in 20? What's in 19? What's in 18? What's in 17? How many do they have on the roster? And you can literally tell if that's a school that brings in a lot of guys that has a quote-unquote tryout in the fall and gets down to 35 in the spring. You can tell that really easy.
And now you have Perfect Game that gives you the commitment list.
Absolutely. Yeah. You can figure out who's going where when, and you can add all that up and go, dang, they got 71 guys. Where am I going to fit in?
Or, man, they have 5 different shortstops. They're really looking for a shortstop.
Yeah, exactly. So you can if a kid really does his homework and we try to educate him on that, they can figure out real quick that probably school A is probably not my best fit, physically or baseball wise. Maybe great academically, but that's going to be that's a chance. That's a big chance for me to take to try to hop over 6 shortstops to get to play my last 2 years. So if the kids can do their homework on that part of it, which is kind of what I'm going to do and hopefully educate these kids about, is if you want to try that, fire it up. I'm not going to tell you can't go anywhere. If you want to do that, fire it up. Let's give it a whirl. But just know that you're going to be up against the wall here. It's a pretty steep hill. But if you look at School B, they only have 1 shortstop. You're anywhere you go, you're going to compete against somebody.
Yep.
You're not going to just walk in and go, I'm the guy. That doesn't happen anywhere, obviously. So your odds of playing at School B might be a whole lot better than School A, and they're just Power 5, same deal. This was a little more attractive for me. This is a little bit maybe a better fit academically for me, socially. Or it's closer to home. It's less money. It's again the same thing. The bottom line is how much is going to be out of pocket for mommy and daddy too. And we
were talking about the other day, the money issue. Like, what's the school? How much does it cost to go to school? What's the scholarship? Are they stacking? Are they not stacking?
Yep. And like I said, the bigger question too is, well, I'm getting 70% from these guys. Well, I'm only getting 40%. Well, the guy that's getting 70% might be paying $12,000 a year out of his pocket. The guy that's getting less money might be paying less money out of his pocket.
40% of what versus 70% of what?
Exactly. So that's the other kicker too. Is obviously every school is different. Some schools make maybe $70,000 a year to go to school there. Maybe $17,000 to go here. What do you want? Do you want you want school loans to pay off the rest of the next 30 years?
They're not
Or
fun.
do you want to just knock it out and go to this place, which has I'll get a great education either place. Well, what do you want to do?
I mean, you're gambling basically. You're rolling the dice. If I get $60,000 per year, I'm rolling the dice that A, I'm either going to get a really good job that's going to pay off that debt, or B, the rate of inflation is just going to inflate the debt away, which that's not a really good bet. Or the government's just going to say, yeah, we're going to cancel all the debt. That's not a really good bet
not
either.
a good
right.
bet, yeah.
So you are in a pickle, and that's a huge decision for an 8th grader, 9th grader, 10th grader. I think having that conversation early, I really don't like it when parents say, well, he's in 8th grade, in 9th grade, or 10th grade. He's just not ready to talk about that. I'm like, well, when is the right time?
Yep.
When is it? We got to talk about it at some point. They're going to talk about it with their counselor. I'd rather have it be the parent than the counselor.
Yep.
So, but the guys that don't know, Evan is full time with us now, and you're actually getting on with a couple of our directors.
Absolutely.
You're trying to get in communication with the directors.
Yep.
So if you are a Tiger and would like to talk to Evan. He is making himself available, so you guys will be able to reach out to him. Evan, give him your email address.
Yeah, it's evan@rawlingstigers.com. So just shoot me an email anytime. Doesn't matter where you're at. I'll jump on a Zoom call or whatever, and we can hash out whatever questions that you have. I can give you as much or as less or as little or whatever you need. I'm here to help with anything in the process and help you move along with, like I said, the biggest thing for me is I want to be able to take some stress away from the parents and the kids. And it's going to be a crazy, stressful time as much as you want it to be. But if you have a lot of the answers and have a plan, then it's not going to be as stressful as you think it's going to be. That's my whole thing with this whole, how do I get to the next level and play college baseball? It's going to be a rocky road. It's going to be a smooth road. It's going to be left, right, up, down. But at the end of the day, it's going to be fun, and you're going to end up in a great spot.
What is your tactical guide for 2021? We gave ours in 2020. I'd like to get your take on it. I know we've talked a lot in this podcast. But if you were a player now and you were in 8th grade or 9th grade, whatever, what would be your tactical guide to get to a college?
Well, my first thing would be just to get my name in front of the coaches that I want to play for right now as an 8th grader. Maybe get a quick hitter as far as the swing or the pitch or whatever, because that's not going to be the end-all, be-all story. But I want to kind of pique their interest just a little bit. And then my next thing is to get to a camp and get in front of them as much as I can. Because most college coaches aren't going to come to my 8th grade game unless you have a relative or something, that you know of or this, that, and the other. That doesn't happen right now for the majority of them. So I want to be able to get on their campus and get in front of them and just say, hello, here's who I am. Please follow me. And then every, once a month, once every 20 days, send them a kind of a small, quick update on, hey, I was 3 for 4 last night against whoever, and I look forward to talking to you again, type of thing. And it doesn't have to be a lot, just enough to be able to keep myself in front of them so they know who I am, enough to where I'm not just killing them and bugging them. But when it gets to that sophomore, junior year, I want them to be able to come to Lake Point or Grand Park or wherever we're going to go play. I want them to know that they're going to go to Field 7 and watch me play at 4 o'clock. And that's what information I'm going to give them when it gets to that point, because I know they're going to be there watching everybody else. So I'm just laying the foundation as a youngster to try to be able to just keep me in front of their mind whenever it comes time for them to really go out and watch games.
What's your standpoint on PBR, Perfect Game, and social media? Would you be using any of those?
Absolutely. I would make sure that I got to at least one of those, PBR, Perfect Game, and get myself on there. Because I am PBR especially. I'm looking. First thing I do is if I hear of a kid or see a kid, I'm going right to PBR
because it's a trusted source.
Trusted source, and the videos are on there. I get a quick 1-minute synopsis, snapshot of who you are. If I don't have that already, especially PBR. Perfect Game is not so much. They don't have as many videos, but they do. But especially PBR because they're awesome with that stuff for sure. And then, like I said, just do some quick hitters on Twitter, and once it, just literally just. Like you said before, branding. Just keep myself in the know and out there, not crazy out there, but enough to where when it really comes time for that college coach to make a decision or really watch me play 3 or 4 games, I know that he's probably going to be there and make a decision on me one way or the other.
And that's why we have the player profiles, how they're set up.
Oh, absolutely. That's awesome, too, on the rosters. And like I said, the kids on our website can put their own videos on there, and they can just shoot that thing out right to the college coaches with that link. That's phenomenal.
You're able to link out to your PBR, link out to your Perfect Game, link out to a camp evaluation if you upload it up to the server, and then you also be able to upload your videos, which is pretty cool too. And then obviously your metrics.
The easiest way that you can make it simple for the college coaches to know who you are and keep update with you, the better. And that roster thing on our website is phenomenal for that.
Mm-hmm. Is this a fair assessment? Like the Willy Wonka golden ticket is if an MLB scout loves you. Is that a fair assessment?
It might be even more than that these days, because obviously back in the day, whenever I was going, the draft was unlimited.
Yep.
Now it's cut down to 50 rounds, and now it's cut down to 40 rounds, and so I think lately now it's only going to be 20 rounds.
20.
Yeah, I feel like if you get the word of mouth, it's like the mafia. Like, oh, he's He's made.
those guys are pulling their hair out as well too, because they don't know, especially with the COVID year, and they're trying to catch up, and anymore with the professional side of it. Yeah, that's the if you're a high school guy going to the draft now, you're somebody for sure. So, and that makes the college guy that much more important, because they're those pro guys don't want to miss on the high school guys right now. They don't want, especially with 20 rounds.
Yeah, they can't.
They're not going to take the high school guy in the 17th round and try to develop him. They're just not going to do it. They're going to take the best pitcher from whatever college and throw him out there at that point.
I think I'm in the minority on this one, but I was actually really glad that they condensed it down. I think it'd be a more interesting draft just from a fan's perspective, and also reducing down the minor league system. It just becomes a better product for the fans, and I think they're going to really enjoy seeing those players, and actually makes minor league baseball really interesting now.
Oh, I agree with you on that part of it. It just eliminates some jobs.
It does.
It eliminates opportunities. It eliminates that fringe, really, really good player that may have one tool.
That's true.
And in the back of the day, could probably get out in pro ball, and maybe his one tool carries him to the big leagues. That one story that you read about,
Mike Piazza,
that'll eliminate that guy. But yes, it will. It's like anything else. You shorten it up and make it tighter, it's going to be a better product and a better game and more fun to watch. You just have less opportunities. That's it.
Yeah, I think the fans won on that one, and I think the baseball world kind of got kicked in the face a little bit.
Exactly. But that makes college that much more important, and this process that much more important.
Yep, that's very true. Guys, that's this episode of the Tiger Interview Series. Again, if you would like to reach out to Evan Pratte, evan@rawlingstigers.com. Mine is spiker@rawlingstigers.com. Dave's is dburkby@rawlingstigers.com. Thanks, guys, for listening to this episode. Make sure you subscribe. If you want to see our faces, go ahead and go to the YouTube channel. We're going to post the video up on the YouTube channel. But, yeah, looking forward to the next episode. See ya.
Thanks, guys.
Yep, thanks.